Different neoprene types. Hello everyone. Today we're going to talk about something which is a back to basics topic, even though I'm sure many of us don't really know the different types of neoprene that are used on freediving or spearfishing wetsuits. We have these samples here by Soup, one of the most important international tailor-made wetsuit manufacturer. Soup is known all over the world. They produce high quality neoprene wetsuits, all made of all different types of neoprenes. And what is important and very interesting about Soup is the fact that the owner actually knows neoprene quality so well. They don't actually use always the same brand. They don't even actually communicate the brand they use of neoprene. But I saw Giuliano Tagliacozzo receiving the big quantities of neoprene and actually touching them and understanding if the quality was good enough as promised by the supplier. So he actually verifies everything every time, so the neoprene is of top quality. In fact, even the same supplier, the same neoprene manufacturer can actually somehow change during time, and this is very important because the quality can change and we might have the same neoprene type, at least on paper, and then the quality, the softness and the resistance of the neoprene of our wetsuit can change. So that's what Soup does. They actually check every time the quality, and that is why they become so famous, and the quality of their wetsuits is so good all over the world. They even do high thickness wetsuits, which are the most tragic ones, like they go to 10, 11 millimeters thick wetsuit for very cold North Pole conditions. And in that case, you really need to have a very performing, thermal insulating material, perfect cut, and of course soft, because when it's 11 millimeters of thickness, you really are constricted in your wetsuit, so you really need softness to be able to be comfortable in the water. And that's why we actually asked Giuliano and Soup to give us some samples of neoprene. And I want to explain today which samples we have, and so which types of neoprene are available on the market and which use they are best for. First of all, let's talk about neoprene. How is it made? Actually, it's made from petroleum or lime scale. Today, most of the manufacturers have shifted to lime scale because it's much more natural, it's much more ecological, and it's much more anti-allergic for the skin. So the choice must be today to use lime scale for producing neoprene. And through a long process, it's actually melted and mixed with air, mostly air, but not only. And the final result is this kind of rubber, which is soft and elastic and has a spongy effect. And to obtain this, actually, the producers actually put together thick sheets of neoprene, which are actually sliced in thinner solutions, of course, of different millimeters depending on the request. I think this is actually a 1 centimeter or maybe 8 millimeter, 9 millimeter solution. So they're sliced, and you will have at the top and at the bottom a very smooth surface of the pack of neoprene, while in the middle they will be cut, so it's a different solution. And the cut surface is what is called open cell, while the two extremes are the ones that are called smooth, because they are not cut, they have a very smooth surface. So considering the open cell solution, it's actually this surface here. So it's actually the neoprene pack cut here, sliced. And so why is it called open cells? Because the neoprene inside has air, mainly air bubbles, and it's closed cell, of course, because they are actually not open. But when they're cut, the cells, of course, part of the cells which come in the line of the cut open up, of course, and this is why they're called open cell. Of course, internally, all the bubbles, let's call them simply that way, will be, of course, closed bubble, and that's why the air will not go out of the neoprene. The air bubbles will be the ones that create the very special thermal insulation. In fact, the air doesn't conduct heat as much as a solid or a liquid, so in that case you have a strong insulation. The more bubbles you have, the more insulation you have, but then you have different problems. Too much air in the neoprene makes the neoprene float a lot, and then it squeezes a lot when you go down deep, so it's a balance. Of course, the best manufacturers manage to have a very good balance, and using the high quality neoprene rubber, they actually manage to have a neoprene which has a very high thermal insulation and at the same time doesn't squeeze too much when you go down and the pressure of the water increases. Now let's go back to the main topic, which is different types of neoprene. This one is a open cell internally and lined fabric externally. The lining is a texture that is applied on the sheets. The lining is either made of nylon or polyester. Normally the nylon is a little bit more elastic, but it depends also on the quality of these textures. So this is the more common solution. Open cell lined surface. Internally open cell, externally lined. So why do we want the internal surface to be open cell without lining? Because the adherence to the body is perfect. It actually sticks to the body. So the water film between the neoprene and the body is so thin it doesn't actually become cold. So the thermal insulation is ensured more than when you have the fabric on the body, which of course creates a thicker water film because it's filled with water plus the water film, so it's a different kind of adherence. Some companies are testing special fabric which somehow are as warm, even warmer than the open cell, but at the moment we don't have specific indication that this actually works. Of course, the open cell is hard to wear because, as you can see, it's very sticky, so that's the good thing. But when you wear the wetsuit, you really need to put water and often some soap to help you actually wear it. While when you have fabric internally, which is the other possibility, which normally is fabric internally and smooth cell externally, which is, as I said before, the extreme part of the neoprene pack. So it's a very smooth, much smoother than this surface. Well, internally you have the fabric, so it slides on your body and you can actually wear it even without water or soap. And externally you will have this smooth solution, which is actually interesting because it slides better in the water. It's a little bit smoother, so it slides better and it's more resistant compared to the open cell. You don't use the open cell for an external surface, for an external solution for wetsuits. So it's smoother, it slides better, and in winter, what is very important, and if you're moving around with your boat or in any condition, of course, it dries much faster. The fabric gets soaked of water, so it tends to stay wet for long, while the smooth neoprene surface dries quite immediately. So when you're moving with your boat in very cold conditions, you really want the smooth solution externally to dry very fast, otherwise you get really cold. Of course, you can put jackets on, but the smooth solution is the best. Anyway, this is actually the most common solution. You put a little bit of water and soap inside your wetsuit, maybe in here, closing your wrist and shaking it around so all the water and soap goes around the internal open cell surface, so the wetsuit slides better on your body. You don't have to use too much soap, of course, also for ecological reasons, but also to protect your skin, just a drop, but that's the best solution. So you can have the black standard solution, then you can have the camo versions. This one is just exactly as this wetsuit here. These are the nice camo versions by Polosub. Very nice solutions to camouflage better in the water, especially when you're spearfishing. You see the green and the red brown one, a more brown and blue red one here. This is a more sea color solution, and that's another solution by Polosub. They also have many solutions for Smoothskin. We were talking about Smoothskin externally, and this is the one. Actually, this is open cell Smoothskin. So this Smoothskin is the one that I was talking about before. Very shiny, as you can see, very smooth, slides well in the water, gets dry very fast. So a very nice external solution. Of course, you need to be careful not to pull it, not to cut it with your nails, otherwise it opens up very easily. And this is the problem with open cell Smoothskin neoprene. Actually, this is the neoprene that most top sparrows and freedivers want because it's the softest. You don't have the fabric on it, so it's just the rubber, and so the elasticity of this solution is the best on the market, but of course it's delicate. If you then cut it, it can actually open up very easily. So even when you're wearing the wetsuit, if a small crack appears and you pull it, it just opens up in a second. While with fabric, there's no way. You have the fabric here, so even if you have cuts internally, it won't actually tear apart. So This is more safe, more durable in time, while this is softer, more comfortable, but very delicate. By the way, this solution is also somehow, for some, is considered better in hot conditions because it gets wet, keeps wet in time. So when you're out of the water, you want to go back in, but you're just moving around with strong sun on yourself. The fact that the fabric is soaked with water keeps you a little bit cooler compared to the smooth exterior. And of course, it resists more the weather, the sun. While if you have the smooth surface, it will actually be more delicate also for weather conditions, the sun hitting all the time on it. So more durable, a little bit more resistant, a little bit less comfortable, top comfort, more delicate, both for wearing it and for the sun hitting on it. Find a solution which has the same strength, almost the same strength of the fabric, the open cell lined solution, but the smoothness externally of the open cell smooth neoprene and the thermal insulation of this solution here, so you also have open cell inside. There is this very interesting solution which is the sandwich. This is a special neoprene by Polosub, and it's also used for the Forza 3 wetsuits. As you can see, it has a smooth external surface and open cell internally. So what's the difference between these two? Well, if you look at the thickness here, there is actually a very thin layer between the smooth external and the open cell internal, which is actually a layer of fabric, of lining between two surfaces. The external surface is around, I think, 2 millimeters, and the internal for the 8 millimeter solution is 6 millimeters. This is done so you will have smooth skin externally, open cell internally, so all the advantage of this, but you will have a layer of lining internally, so if this neoprene breaks and is cut, it doesn't actually tear apart because the lining will protect it from that. So of course it will be elastic, but it won't have the elasticity of the open cell smooth skin solution. It will be more like the open cell fabric neoprene, but you will have top thermal insulation, smooth external, fast drying, and top resistance. Of course, this kind of solution is more expensive than the other two, so this is another downside, but you will have a long-lasting wetsuit with all the advantages that we said, and which won't tear apart if you are not careful enough and some cut appears when you're wearing it. So this is the sandwich of Forza 3 for the Polosub wetsuit. Finally, we have this neoprene which has a lining externally and internally. This is of course very easy to wear, very strong, but of course it will be also less thermally insulated and less elastic compared to the others. So overall, these are the solutions offered by Polosub, which are actually all the solutions possible. I hope you liked the video. I hope you liked this explanation about the possible uses and types of neoprenes on the market for your spearfishing and freediving wetsuits. If you liked the video, please put a like, and do click on the bell if you want to have indications when new videos are uploaded, and follow the channel. Thank you.